Welcome to another edition of the Insider Mailbag. I'm Jared Johnson, and Texas Tech moved to 2-0 last week with a 62-14 victory over Kent State. Now they take on Oregon State, 2:30 p.m. Central Time, back at the Jones to finish out Texas Tech's non-conference slate. But like I said, this is the Mailbag. Inside the Red Raiders subscribers asked several really good questions, so I'm going to dive right into them. First one comes from Raider Power 7796. Who asks, with all the early upsets and good games this season, I'm curious, how do you like to see a non-conference schedule built? He said he'd go with UNT, a local regional team, a solid group of five like Fresno State, and a mid-tier power conference team. I've always been like that, like your model. And the Tech's done that for the most part, where they play an FCS team, group of five team, and then a power five or power four team. But I've gone full circle. And look, maybe I should answer this after the Oregon State game, but it's been a while since Tech opened 3-0 in non-conference. I need to look that up, that stat. I know Kingsbury had some good starts to seasons when he was here. It was kind of the flip of Joey McGuire, but I've kind of gone full circle after the loss to Wyoming and Washington State, like teams that deserve to win the games that they won against Texas Tech. I want to make sure I'm clear on that. But I felt like Tech was at least equally or more talented than those two teams. And, I guess the other answer would be just be better and win those tougher games. But I'm all for, at this point, gaming the system as much as you can. I think a good example is the SEC, how they play a group of five team or sometimes even smaller school late in the season, like week 9 or week 10. It's almost like a late season bye for some of these guys, for some of these teams. I think the fact that Texas Tech continues to want 7 home games, they're trying to schedule that way. The fact that they're looking to help themselves as much as possible in terms of how they schedule, I think are good signs, because for me, if Tech wins 10 games this year, I'm not going to look back at the first 2 games or non-conference and be like, oh, well, Tech didn't deserve that because of their non-conference. Nobody really does that. Nobody does that with anybody. Tech will have to beat some good teams to accomplish what they want to do. So I like Tech getting their feet wet with lesser competition. Now, this is an extremely poor schedule this season. But, again, you're going to face more than enough quality competition to offset that if you win 10 or 11 games. Get Your Ass to Mars wants to know, any updated prediction on number of wins? I'm still going with 10. I haven't seen anything after 2 games that has made me change my mind. I don't think it's going to be easy, though. Kansas State doesn't look as good as they did before. This upcoming game with Utah, which I've been talking about all season, looks like it's going to be a tough one. If they win that one, then I feel really good about the 10 wins. Obviously, if they lose that, then, they got to be really good the rest of the way. But Utah is one of the toughest games on the schedule, and it's just next week. So as of right now, I'm at 10-2. OBX Raider wants to know, what is Cash Cleveland's injury? Yeah, McGuire told me at Big 12 Media Day that Cash had a foot injury that he was coming back from. I haven't double-checked or asked anybody to see if he has another injury, like a new injury. But that was a pretty rough one. I know Cash was always looked at as a future player. Like they want him, they want to utilize him this season for depth for sure at the 3 interior offensive line positions. But excuse me. Also at Big 12 Media Day, McGuire told me that that was his plan, that they decided to go get another younger offensive lineman with potential out of the portal. Once some guys they weren't expecting to hit the portal in the spring did. Some young offensive linemen with potential. So, he didn't want to sit behind some of the guys they were bringing in, which, hey, if it works out for them, then great. But Cash Cleveland was the answer for that because, he was a true freshman last year, so he has multiple seasons of eligibility left. SM8588 wants to know, with only one ranked team remaining on the schedule, what is the ceiling for Tech's ranking prior to the Big 12 championship with an undefeated season? Well, look, first off, philosophically as a fan, I have no problem. Like I just answered, do I still feel good about the season prediction? Look ahead, look around, look behind, look all over. That's fine. You're a fan. You can do that. I don't want to say pump the brakes because if you're enthusiastic and you believe in this team, then go for it. In terms of ceiling ranking, I would say, I mean, if Tech was undefeated, then they'd probably be top 5. Definitely top 10. They're 21 right now in the AP. I think 20 in the coaches poll. So, I mean, it's not that far of a leap. You have to get over some SEC bias in the media and all that. Is a 1-win SEC team, depending on the team, or 2-loss or 1-loss SEC team better than an undefeated Tech team late in the season, or will be ranked higher probably by a lot of people. That's just the way it is. But hey, you're in the process of taking your respect. You're ranked in the top 25. I'm not going to be one of those guys that tell you to pump your brakes. I'm not ready to say that they're definitely going to the Big 12 championship, but I did say I still feel good about 10 wins. So there you go. Nas Raider wants to know, how do you prioritize the college football games that you watch on Saturday? Obviously, Tech's highest priority. But after that, are you looking for the best Big 12 game, premier matchup of day, regardless of conference? Only watch Tech. No, I try to watch as many Big 12 games as I can. Now, I do the local radio show, and during football, the Rockin' pregame on Rock 101 FM, sponsored by Red Ritter Outfitter, among many others, by the way. But, we actually go, I think, what is it? It's a 2-hour show, and it's 3 to 3.5 hours before Tech's game. So, like, for example, Saturday, we'll be on the air 11 to 1. The game's not till 2:30. So that takes up a lot of time. By the time I get out, I'll be, after that, like after the game starts, I'll be there another 5 hours or so. And then I come home, and generally, last week I passed out. I was pretty tired after that. I took a long nap in the middle of the day, or in the afternoon. Or was it the middle? Yeah, early afternoon when I got home. But, I always look for Big 12 games, specifically Texas Tech opponents first. But if there's a good game on, I mean, I'm a Tech fan. I'm going to watch it. I'd say that's probably the biggest drawback. And, I mean, that's been the case for a while. I mean, I've given up, which I think a lot of you, for whatever you do for a living to support your family, have given up certain things that, being a journalist, covering a lot of high school football, college football, and even some the Cowboys and the NFL, my weekends were spoken for, so a lot of time during football season. But the trade-off is getting to do what I want to do for a living, and it's a dream come true. So my point in saying all that is I get to talk a lot. I don't get to watch a lot of college football. Now, Tech's got an off week coming up, so I'm looking forward to that Saturday if I'm still in town. I don't have to go do something somewhere. But no, I definitely look for Tech's opponents, Big 12 games, how it adjusts things for Texas Tech, how it affects Texas Tech. But then I just want to watch good football, man. I just want a good football game after that. MK Smith 19X says, Adam Hill is impressed in the first 2 games. Yeah, he's leading the team in rushing with over 200 yards. He's averaging over, I think, 8 yards a carry. Do you expect for them to have a package with the ones? Or for him to have a package with the ones? He's the biggest back on the team. Could be a fit for some short yardage situations. Yeah, I mean, to me, I really like Jacoby Williams. I like how explosive he is. I think he's a dynamic running back that could do a lot of things. But I actually think Adam Hill is right there. I think Adam Hill we've seen him play in 2 games, and it's been against Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and Kent State. I know that I asked Joey McGuire if anybody surprised him or anything, who stood out through the first 2 games. And Adam Hill was the guy he mentioned. So I think there's a really good possibility that he gets some run. It may just be a series, or might be more than that. Maybe they're seeing what we're seeing. But every time I've seen Adam Hill, whether it be in practice, his highlights, play a game in high school, game at Tech now, he always looks really good. So I'm interested to see what he looks like against Oregon State. I hope he does get the opportunity. And then, obviously Cam Dickey's still in the mix there as well. Michael Henderson, who they moved over, was on the injury list this week. He had one carry, he got picked up, and he got slammed on the ground, and he hurt his shoulder. So I haven't confirmed that it was a shoulder or anything like that, but that's what it looked like during the game last week. So that sucks. But, yeah, I think all three of the backs are going to get some work. So, and I think the ones are going to play a lot. So I think Adam Hill will get a lot of run with the ones, and hopefully he could be utilized in short yardage situations. Indians 53 says, looks like Tristan Gentry is the answer at punt returner, so we'll burn his red shirt. Jones, Deaver, and Stone played in two along with Cardi. Who do you think burns their shirt after getting meaningful time as a freshman? I don't think a lot of people are going to burn their shirt. I think Gentry's he was the highest rated recruit, and it's a position of need. With Jacoby, them moving Jacoby up punt returner with the injury to Q, they don't want Jacoby to get hurt, which makes a lot of sense. I do think there's a good chance that Gentry does burn his shirt, but I really don't. I don't think Leighton Stone will. I don't think Michael Deaver will. Bryson Jones is on the injury list. He had 2 touchdowns in the first 2 games. I'm trying to think. Because nobody on the offensive line or defensive line or a linebacker. Yeah. And even the backups at safety they're younger, but they're redshirts and stuff. They've already redshirted. So, yeah, I really don't think it's a veteran team. I think the veterans are going to play if they're healthy. And they can play in 4 regular season games, but don't forget they can play in all the postseason as well. So, look for them later. Mass Tech wants to know, what is your explanation for Tech's roster strategy and how will it impact next year's portal class? I think they have certain positions. Well, first off, I asked McGuire because this has been a shift. He talked about potential or production over potential, and that Tech was spending in the portal and not as much in the high school ranks. Then all of a sudden, boom, 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 you see Tech really becoming a player for some of the very best recruits in the country. I mean, both of their 2027 commits are top 10 in the nation. And they are offensive tackle and edge. To your point, which you mentioned, you had a longer question, Mass Tech, and it basically was saying that he thought that defensive ends and or edges and offensive tackles were a high priority, and clearly they are. You have several offensive linemen and a big-time quarterback coming in. Kavion O'Brien's a quarterback coming in this weekend for the Oregon State game. There's a whole visitors list on Inside the Red Raiders. It might be the best game day visitor list in terms of just star potential. I mean, there are guys, there are several guys that I'm not mentioning that would have been the highlight guy almost every other weekend in the past. So, yeah, Tech strategy has shifted to going after certain positions, quarterback, offensive tackle, defensive end, and just dominant players that Tech has deemed a priority. And it's interesting. So it's an interesting shift in terms of spending money. It's got to be big money to get these guys. I don't think it's the only reason. I'm not trying to get in that debate, but I do think it's a big reason. I mean, for whoever lands these blue chip prospects moving forward. But it's a brave new world. Tech is taking advantage, and I think you're right. I think what you've seen is very perceptive, and I think that's going to be, at least for this cycle, that's going to be how it is moving forward. Looks like Tech has really prioritized tackles and edge rushers and quarterbacks. Tech Freaks asks, are we overlooking Oregon State this week? I'm a little concerned about that. You score over 60 your first 2 games against inferior opponents, and you look really good doing it for the most part. Oregon State's 0-2. It's at home. You're favored by 24 points. There's a lot of reasons to believe you're better and Oregon State's worse than both teams actually are. They have a good quarterback, a good offense. They've turned the ball over a little too much, had some special teams miscues, but I was reading a couple of Oregon State previews from, people, beat writers who cover Oregon State, and I don't know if it was just they were still serving Kool-Aid up or what, but it made me a little nervous. I mean, they have some talent, but maybe it's just because it's a step up from what Tech has been playing. And we've been burnt so many times watching Texas Tech football. So I really hope Texas Tech doesn't take Oregon State lightly. That's on Tech's coaches. That's on Tech's captains and leaders. And like I just got done saying, it's a veteran team. So hopefully, the veterans, handle the business, make sure the youngins have their head on straight, and Tech rolls. But I let's put it this way: I have had that thought. I mean, even some of the questions in here, undefeated, Big 12 championship, which as fans, hey, go for it. Look ahead. Like I said, look around behind you, all around. It's on the coaches and players to play it. They do one day at a time, but 1 week at a time. I think it could be key how Tech comes out early. If they jump out to a big lead like they have been and are kind of able to pin their ears back a little bit and get after their quarterback, then Tech has a really good chance of just blowing this out. And we weren't taking them lightly, but we've seen some crazy things in college sports, period, and in this life and world, and certainly with Texas Tech. So I'm as curious to get the input as you are, and have had those kind of thoughts too. All right, well, that's going to do it. That was the final question. Like I said, great questions from inside the Red Raiders subscribers. Thank you for watching.